Hi guys, welcome back again to my channel. In today's tutorial we'll be learning how to cut and sew a balloon sleeve without pattern, as well as how to attach it to the armhole area. Okay, without further ado, let's get into the tutorial proper. So guys, to work on the sleeves, the first thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and measure around my armhole. I'm going to loosen the armhole area a little bit so as to enable me measure it properly. So like I said, proceed to measure around your armhole carefully and note what you have there. Okay, so after measuring mine, I realized that I had about 22.5 inches. You could also go ahead to measure the second armhole just to ensure that you have the same thing on the other armhole, and what I have there is also 22.5 inches, and that's okay. The first step I'm going to take in the cutting of the sleeve will be to fold my fabric into two. As you can see, I've done that, but I am going to work with the figure I got 22.5 inches, and I'm going to add 2.5 inches to that, which will give me 25 inches. That's 22.5 plus 2.5 inches. That 2.5 inches is just to add extra pleats to the cuff area of this top, basically. So the more you want your pleats, the more you would add to what you got on your armhole area. As soon as I get my 25 inches, I'm going to go ahead to fold the sleeve into two again. This will enable me cut the two sleeves, as the sleeve for the right hand side and the sleeve for the left hand side together. Okay, so after folding that, I'm going to place that properly on the table. After making all those folds, what I should be getting should be half of 25 inches, which is 12.5. Now I'm going to go ahead to cut the top part of the sleeve area because I do not want to include that in my sleeve. It frays easily, so I'm going to go ahead to cut that out. All you need to do is to measure from your shoulder to where you want your sleeve to stop around your wrist area. Okay, after measuring mine, I wanted my sleeve to be 24 inches, okay, or 23.5 depending. And the sleeve has two parts. The sleeve has the main body area, and you have the cuff area. Okay, and I want my sleeve area to be 20 inches. Okay, and you know that when we want to join our sleeve, we'll need 0.5 inches to join the head of the sleeve to the armhole, and to join the down part of the sleeve to the cuff area. So I went ahead to add 1 inch to the 20 inches, and I have 21 inches. So I quickly went ahead to cut that out, very quickly. And now we'll go ahead to cut out our sleeves. Note that we are going to start taking our measurement from this side that has no opening. Can you see? So the first thing we're going to measure is our cap height, and you get your cap height by dividing your bust circumference by 10 plus 1.2 inches. And that gave me 5 inches. Just kindly look at the calculation on the screen. Okay, so I went ahead to mark 5 inches. I went ahead to rule that into a straight line. On this line that you've made, what you're going to do now is to divide what you got as your round armhole. What I got is 22.5 divided by 2, which gives me 11.25. So from the beginning like this, you're going to try to get 11.25 on this line. Okay, just place your ruler this way, then go ahead to mark 11.2 inches on the line. Just try to make sure the 11.2 inches touches the cap height line. The line just finished drawing. So once it does that, just go ahead to use your chalk to note the point where it touches the line, which is what I just did. Like I said, what I have from this point to this point is about 11.25. So I'm going to go ahead to rule a straight line from that point to the edge. Okay, and as soon as I'm done ruling the straight line, I'm going to divide that line into 3 equal parts. Okay, I'm going to divide that line into 3 equal parts. Just divide your whatever you get there by 3. Okay, and after doing that, I came out from this point by 0.8 inches. Okay, and now the first point I marked here also came out by 0.8 inches, and I went ahead to connect from the edge to that point, after which I took it to the other point that I marked here, and towards this part I will come in by 0.2 inches, then rule it to the end. That's it, basically. Just come in by 0.2 inches and that's it. So yeah, the next thing is to just cut out, basically. So I'm going to go ahead to cut out this as you see me doing. Okay, at this point I'm going to go ahead to confirm the length of the sleeve, which should be 21 inches. So I went ahead to do that and roll that into a straight line so as to enable me cut the parts that we do not need, so as to enable me cut it out. Okay, I do not want the sleeve to be straight in any way, so I'm going to go ahead to connect from that point to the end. That's the reason we added that 2.5 inches that we added the other time, in case you were wondering, so that we can have more pleats at the wrist area. Okay, so I just went ahead to connect it in this manner so that it gives us more pleats at that area. Okay, so I said if you want more pleats, you could add more to get more pleats. So I'm going to just go ahead to cut that out, and this is what our sleeve is looking like. Remember, this cuff area is going to be 4 inches. So to cut the cuff area, I am going to measure 4 inches now, add 0.5 inch allowance, okay, for joining the cuff to the sleeve area, to the bottom of the sleeve area. So I'm going to measure that now and cut it out. In order to measure how wide your wrist area is going to be, you're going to have to measure your wrist, divided by 2. So what you have to do now is take your tape measure and place it around your wrist. Make sure it's very free, make sure you can pull it, make sure the tape can come out of your hand. Okay, so you have to go ahead now to measure that, and I think what I have there is about 9.5 inches. Make sure you can remove the tape from your hand. If not, this is going to be too tight. And what I have there, I think I finally made use of 9 inches. We'll find out. I think I used 9 inches. I just wanted to make sure it's a bit fitted, at the same time I can pull it out. I ended up using 9 inches. Okay, so I folded this into 2, so 9 divided by 2 is 4.5, but we'll add 1 inch allowance to that. So what I have here is 5.5. okay, so what I'm going to cut out is 5.5 on fold. So when we use 1 inch seam allowance, it's going to give us 4.5, and that is 9 inches. We divided our 9 inches by 2 to get that 4.5 before we added our 1 inch seam allowance. So we need 2 of that. After cutting the first one, I'll just go ahead to cut the second one. Now I'm going to go ahead to gum very soft stay on this. As you can see, just gum very soft stay on it, just to give it more grip. Don't gum a very hard stay on this, because it's not going to look good at all. So this one, I feel like it was even too hard. So the softest stay, that's what you should use for this. Okay, I've gone ahead to iron this, and I've gone ahead to fold the edge by 0.5 inches when I went to iron it. Okay, so after doing that, it's important to do that. So go to your ironing table, iron your stay on top of it, and unfold the edge by 0.5 inches. I have gone ahead to do my first sleeve, and here is what it looks like. As you can see, it's looking very neat. So I'm going to show you how I achieved this. So the first thing you need to do is to get your cuff area, okay, fold it into 2, and go ahead to use your pen to note out your allowance so that this work is quite neat. So just note out your allowance so that when you go to your sewing machine to stitch, it's easier. Okay, so after doing that, I'm going to get this part. Remember, we're going to form gathers with the end of the sleeve, and this is my own gathers. What I did was to go to my sewing machine, and I made a basic stitch on that point. Then I gathered it by pulling the 2 top threads. I'll just pull the thread little by little like this and gather it. Then I would go to the other end and pull it as well. Just use any means you use to form your gathers, it doesn't matter. Okay, it is important to note this, guys. The wrong part of the sleeve is what's facing up. This part you're looking at right now is the wrong part of the sleeve. Now you're going to place the right side of this cuff towards the wrong side of the sleeve. Okay, and that is the part you're going to stitch together when you get to your sewing machine. Please, that's what you have to do. I am going to go ahead to check if the gathers matches with this cuff area. It has to be equal, and since it's equal, I'll go ahead to stitch and I'll be back. And here's what I have, guys. After stitching, it is looking good already. I'm going to go ahead to cut off the excess allowance a bit so that the sleeve area does not look too bulky. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead to trim that off. After that, I'm going to go ahead to cover up the sleeve, close it up. So I'm going to head over to my sewing machine and carefully stitch towards the end of the sleeve from beginning to the end like this, just like a top stitch basically. And here's what I have, guys, when I was done. So now I'm going to go ahead to fold my sleeve into 2 just to take the midpoint. So after folding, I'm going to use my scissors to notch. It's important to note that point, okay? So that will help us when attaching our sleeves to the armhole area. So I'm going to get my armhole area right now, and what I'm going to do is to start from that midpoint to fix my sleeve. I am going to start by pinning the midpoint of the sleeve to the midpoint of the armhole, okay? And after that, I'm going to go ahead to form little pleats at this area. I'm going to pleat this a bit. While splitting, you're going to keep checking to ensure that the sleeve can go round to the end. Okay, so I'm going to form pleats on the shoulder and pin it down. Then I will still check to ensure that the sleeve can still get to the end. If it can still get to the end and it still remains, I'll go ahead to form more pleats and I'll pin it down as well. After forming this last pleat, I realized that the remaining parts can actually get to the end of the sleeve perfectly. So I'll go ahead to pin down the edge of the sleeve. Okay, now this is just one side of the sleeve, so I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. Okay, this is just me trying to pin the sides without the pleat. So now I'm going to go ahead to the second side of this sleeve. Now remember, we started from one midpoint to the end. Now we want to start from the other end to the midpoint. That's another way you can do this. So I'm going to begin to pin from that end until I'm about to get towards the midpoint. So I'll keep pinning till I'm very close to the midpoint, and the remaining fabric at that point is what I'm going to use to form the pleat. So I'm going to go ahead to pin this part. As you can see, what I have left is a little bit of fabric here, and I'm just going to use that to form my pleat. That's another easy way you can do it if you don't want to go through the first method I showed you. So this same thing we did on this side of the sleeve, you're going to do that on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead to stitch this now, and I would show you what I have. So that's basically how you do this, just very easy. After going to your sewing machine to stitch around the armhole that you've pinned, okay, just like I'm showing you, just go ahead to stitch round carefully. The next step is to close your sleeve with your 1 inch seam allowance. Repeat all these processes for the second sleeve. And here's what my sleeve looks like when I was done. Next is the turtleneck part, and I'm going to post that immediately after this one tomorrow.